These trends are losing you money. So if you don't know this, like in fashion, there's also trends. For wedding band and engagement rings, they usually span around a 5-year lifespan. You do want to buy something that is a little bit more timeless, because otherwise you're going to risk having to redesign your ring because it looks outdated. And as a result, you're going to end up spending a lot more money than just investing in something that's a little bit more classic. My name is Dominic Flux. I'm a custom jewelry designer. I've been in the engagement ring space for over a decade now, so I've definitely seen trends come and go. And today let's break down ways that you can create a much more timeless engagement ring. So just to prove my point, let's look at some trends. 5 years ago, what did we have? We had organized, we had black diamonds, we had ultra skinny diamond pave bands, we had stones set very high with hidden halos. All those trends that we're seeing in the engagement ring space. Today, we're seeing something completely different. We're getting a lot of requests for teal sapphires. We're getting requests for stones being set very low, no diamonds along the shank, very minimal, very classic, wider bands. So things are constantly changing, and in 5 years, it's going to be something completely different as well. So that's why one of my number one tips as a jeweler that I give to clients is always go for a more classic, more minimal engagement ring. And then for your wedding band, have fun. Go trendier, go more eccentric, more elaborate, because it's going to be easier to switch out your wedding band than it is your engagement ring. I like to think of your engagement ring almost as a blank canvas that you can kind of build out. So I prepared a little slideshow for you to kind of show what that looks like. So for your engagement ring, you have classic round solitaire. Super simple. And here I've paired it with a cluster wedding band. I've paired it with an art deco. I've paired it with a more modern style. I've paired it with a floral chevron, right? These are all different styles, but ultimately they still pair well with your classic engagement ring. This is what I really recommend doing, because at the end of the day, budget is always going to be important. And when you think about a wedding band, the average cost is going to be between $1,500 to $2,000. Versus an engagement ring redesign on average is $2,000 or more. I started my career doing jewelry transformation, so I'm very well versed in that space. And I do find it unfortunate that not only is it just as expensive as just buying a new wedding band, but you're also losing the sentimentality and the memories that that ring has, right? That was the original ring that was proposed with, and I think it has a little bit more value than just monetary value. It's kind of priceless, and so we do want to avoid having to replace it. Just going with that trendier wedding band, you can even keep the other wedding band for the same price of remaking your engagement ring. So it's a little bit better in that sense. Because when I look at style and trends, I usually like to break it down into kind of like 3 sections. So you have like the classics and the more kind of minimal designs generally. You have the trendier styles in the middle, and you have, you know, the very eccentric, one-of-a-kind styles at the very end. They kind of do overlap a little bit to each other, but overall, I like to tell clients to kind of stay at both extremes. So I either want you going very minimal, or I want you going very eccentric, because on the opposing side, when you're going very eccentric, I know that this is a design that is exclusive to you, right? This is a very authentic, genuine design that you've thought up, and it's not super trendy, and it's not anything because it's nothing that you're pulling from. It's really a unique design. And so that's why I see those crazy eccentric pieces. I know that that's just you, and I know you're gonna love it forever. So that's also something that I think is a-okay to do. Like me, for example, I have a very eccentric, very floral design. This is actually a wedding band collection that we're putting out at the moment that's very floral, very art deco, has a whole lot going on. And for most people, it's gonna be like, ooh, no. But for the people who love it, it's so eccentric and it's so out there, and it's not really pulling from anything, that you're going to love it no matter what. No matter what the trends are or anything, it's true to you. So, all right. So now that we've spoken a little bit about like the theory, how are you actually going to go out and design an engagement ring that's like classic and that's going to be timeless? I would do it as a building block step by step. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your center stone, you're going to take your shank. Then you're going to say, okay, do I want shoulders? Do I not want shoulders? Do I want a slightly round shank or a slightly square shank? Do I want my stone to be set a little bit higher, a little bit like quote unquote more glamorous, or do I want it to set low, very active lifestyle prone ring? And lastly, what shape do I want? So the shapes are the one thing that I think out of all of this has a little bit more influence in trends, because 20 years ago princess cuts were like super popular, and then it was pear cuts, and now it's ovals. So there are definite trends in engagement rings. I think the classic that's always going to stay and that's actually the most ordered is going to always be round. The shapes are a little bit trickier in the sense that it really depends on your hands, the shapes of your hands, the elongation of your fingers. Having shorter fingers, for example, having an elongated stone, like elongated cushion, elongated radiant, gives a more feminine look. So that is the one exclusion that kind of want to see what really works for you. That could be a little bit trendy, but ultimately this is the gist of it. So now we have your base, and I want you to take your base and I want you to think about elements that you really love, okay? And sometimes they will be a little bit trendy, and that's okay as long as it's not overpowering. So what do I mean by that? I mean by little accents and little styles and little things that are gonna add, but that are extremely noticeable. Like for example, a hidden halo, or petal prongs, or diamonds along the side. These are all little elements that don't take up much room, and you have to kind of like turn your ring to really see them, right? I'm not talking about full on like cluster shank, uneven cluster shanks. That's gonna be super outdated. It's already outdated and you're not gonna like it. That's kind of like what I'm talking about. So this way you can still personalize it a little bit. It still has meaning, but it's not going to be overbearing, and in 5 years it's not going to be that noticeable if it's no longer in trend. Hopefully this helped. If you obviously, like, anytime you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. At the end of the day, this is your engagement ring, so I do want you to love it. You know, you have to find a ring that is unique to you and that you absolutely love. This is just something that I wanted to talk about because I want you to avoid wasting money, because I have redone a lot of engagement rings and this is a lot of the topics that come up is that it's just outdated. So this will avoid that from happening. So anyways, my name is Onyx Flux. If you are interested in short form content, we do have our Instagram and our TikTok. And if not, thanks for watching. Comment a little cherry down below to know if you guys actually made it this far. So thanks for watching. Bye.